Welcome back, guys. We're here with another episode of our podcast, and today we're going to be talking about the depth of talent within the England squad, and we'll be predicting our Euro 2021 23-man squad. So, with the emergence of current talent like Phil Foden, Mason Greenwood, Bukayo Saka, and there's literally so many more, the future of international football for England, it's probably looking as healthy as I've ever seen it. And dare I say it, we may have a new golden generation for England. Obviously, with the Euros being moved due to COVID, I think this may work in England's favour, to be honest. It's going to give these up-and-coming younger players a little more time to gain some Premier League experience. And by the time the Euros come around, these guys could be established Premier League players. See, so it's exciting times for us England fans. And God only knows we could use some excitement on the international front. So let's take a look at who we think will be called up in goal. Before we create a 23-man squad, it's important to discuss the tactics. So at the World Cup in 2018, Gareth Southgate played what I would say is a 5-3-2 formation. So he used three centre-backs with wing-backs, and then he had three centre midfielders with a two-man attack. At the time, I believe this was probably the best way for Gareth Southgate to get the squad organised, to make them compact as a unit, and I think that's probably what worked so well in 2018. I highly doubt that's going to be the formation that Southgate's going to stick with. I believe he's going to use a 4-3-3 formation, probably to get the best out of the players like Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho, because those players will be wasted in a 5-3-2 because there's no strength on the wings in that formation other than the fullbacks. So we're going to start off in goal now, and this is fairly straightforward one for me. So in previous competitions, 3 goalkeepers are selected. So in 2018, Jordan Pickford became the hero for England in the penalty shootout against Colombia. But is he England's best goalkeeper? I don't think he is. For me, Nick Pope is going to be England's number one. He's kept 15 clean sheets so far this season. He's the joint leader of clean sheets with Alisson of Liverpool. And when you consider that Alisson plays behind Virgil van Dijk and plays for the best team currently in England, it's truly remarkable what Nick Pope's done at Burnley. It was a close call for myself between Nick Pope and Dean Henderson, who's had a fantastic season at Sheffield United, but ultimately, I think Pope is a better shot stopper, and he's got that experience over Henderson. That being said, I do think that Dean Henderson is probably going to be England's number one going forward for years to come. But Euro 2021, it's just a little bit too soon for him. So that leaves me now with a third place spot, who I think it will go to Jordan Pickford. In my opinion, I prefer Tom Heaton of Aston Villa. I think he's a better goalkeeper all round. I just think the only reason that Pickford will get in is because Heaton is coming towards the end of his career now. But yeah, I do think Heaton's a better goalkeeper, but I do believe Jordan Pickford will be the one taking that third spot. So that's our 3 goalkeepers in place. Number 1, Nick Pope. Number 2, Dean Henderson. Number 3, Pickford. That being said, with Carlo Ancelotti in charge of Everton next year, I do expect them to be more defensively sound, which could propel Pickford back into the number 1 spot, which he currently obtains that number 1 spot. I just think Nick Pope has had a phenomenal season, and I think that will be the wrong call to keep Pickford as number 1 goalkeeper for England as things stand currently. So let's move on now. Let's take a look at the fullbacks. And if we want to take a look at our right back position first, I believe this is where we have some selection headaches. So we need to choose 2 fullbacks out of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier. So although Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier are the more experienced of the England internationals, in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we have probably the best attacking right back in the league and probably the best defensive right back in the league. So I would use this to my advantage. I do predict that Trent Alexander and Aaron Wan-Bissaka will be the 2 fullbacks selected in that position. And it gives Southgate a very welcoming selection process. So for me, I would probably play Trent Alexander-Arnold ahead of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He just gives that added creativity from a position where it's not usually renowned for. This is definitely the best option for playing teams that are more defensively resolute, where England will control the ball and need to sort of break down these defences. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, on the other hand, he gives us options in regards to when we come up against the likes of France, Portugal, Spain, teams like that, when England won't have as much of the ball and they will have more defending to do. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka gives England a more solid option at the back. Unfortunately for Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier, I think they're going to miss out. Despite having that experience, I just think there's too many mistakes there. Defensively, they're not as sound as the other two, and they don't offer as much going forward. So I think it will be Alexander-Arnold and Wan-Bissaka making it to the Euros in the right-back position. So let's take a look on the other side now. I don't think we're as blessed with options, but we still do have options. So for me, without any doubt, England's first choice left-back, it's got to be Ben Chilwell. He, in my opinion, is head and shoulders above anyone else in those positions. His backup is slightly more trickier though. It could be between it could be Danny Rose, Luke Shaw, Ryan Sessegnon. Personally, I don't think Ryan Sessegnon will get the game time under Mourinho next season, so I don't think he'll make the squad. And out of those players I've just mentioned, I would probably go for Luke Shaw. But there's another young left back at United who's battling for that spot under the name of Brandon Williams. Now, if he can get the game time at United and continue developing the way that he has done, then I think he could give Shaw a run for his money. I've watched him a few times. He does a fantastic job defensively and offensively. And I think he's one for the future that we need to keep an eye on. Again, I think the Euros might just come a little bit too early for Brandon Williams. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw as my left backs, who I think will be going to the Euros. Now, over the years, England have had some fantastic centre-backs, probably the best centre-backs in the world. We look at the likes of Tony Adams, Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, and that, just to name a few. Now, unfortunately, we don't have anyone of that level currently playing at centre-back. So we're going to pick our four best centre-backs. So for me, my top pair in the centre-backs, I'm looking at Harry Maguire and Michael Keane. Harry Maguire, he was fantastic in 2018 at a World Cup. He did play as part of a three-man centre-back, which I think probably helped him out. But I do think he's probably still one of our best defenders. And he's still, I think he's about, 26, 27? He's in his prime now. He's got those years ahead of him. So I do think Harry Maguire is the first name on the sheet in regards to centre-backs. We touched on it with Jordan Pickford. I think Ancelotti at Everton can only improve Michael Keane's game. And by the time the Euros come around, I expect Michael Keane will probably have improved defensively. And that's the reason I'm pairing him with Harry Maguire. My backup centre-back's a big fan of this guy, James Tarkowski. I think he is a brilliant centre-back. I just think he needs the right guidance and he works best while at Burnley. So the defence at Burnley, they all seem to be on the same page. And I think throwing him into a defence where you've got a ball-playing defender and wing-backs attacking, I just think that's probably not going to work for Tarkowski. So that's the reason he's not getting in the first team. As much as I disagree, I think John Stones will go to the Euros. I think he probably needs to make a move to another club possibly to guarantee that he gets the game time. Now, I want to be clear, I don't really rate John Stones. And if it were up to me, I'd probably take someone like Lewis Dunk, who's another good defender. But knowing how Southgate likes to play, he'll want a ball-playing defender as backup in case Maguire picks up an injury or a suspension. And like I say, with Tarkowski, it was a close call whether I would put him in alongside Harry Maguire. But ultimately, I've gone for Maguire and Keane as the first choice centre-backs. So one to also watch next season would be Chelsea's Fikayo Tomori, who if he is given the game time at Chelsea under Frank Lampard, he could make it into the team depending how he gets on. I think he would probably replace John Stones. But yeah, he's another one that it looks like he's going to be a top centre-back for England in the years to come. Possibly might be too early for Euro 2021, but we'll just have to see how he gets on under Frank Lampard next year. So this takes me on to the three-man midfield, where obviously we want a mixture of defensive and attacking options. For me, first name on the team sheet without any doubt about it is Jordan Henderson. He's really progressed as a player in the last few years, and I think his work rate in that midfield is essential. We've seen so many times for Liverpool, obviously being a Liverpool fan, we see so many times when Jordan Henderson isn't available, how the team, it just doesn't function the same without that leadership and work rate. And I think his influence is hugely underrated. I do think if Jordan Henderson's available, Jurgen Klopp, he is the first name on the team sheet, him and Firmino. And I think it's the same for England. I'm watching more and more of Declan Rice for West Ham, and I like him a lot. I'd have him as my CDM with Henderson just in front of him. And I think that pairing will work. They both work hard for the teams. They're both leaders. And I think it's a fantastic pairing to have in midfield. And then we have to, obviously, we go for an attacking-minded midfielder then who can create something for our strikers to put a ball in the back of the net. I think this has to be, for me, it's between Maddison and Grealish. I like both of these players, but I'm a huge fan of Jack Grealish. So I'm going to go for the Aston Villa captain. I think it all depends how Aston Villa get on this season. If Aston Villa get relegated, he's probably going to have to manufacture a move away from Villa. He needs to be playing Premier League football, and he needs to put his own career above the needs of Aston Villa. As sad as that is, if Villa go down, Jack Grealish can't afford to be playing Championship football. If he is, and he stays loyal to Villa, then I think James Maddison will probably get that spot. Either way, both of those players will be taken to the Euros, I'm sure of it. I think they'll be joined in midfield by Mason Mount of Chelsea, who, again, next year I'm expecting big things from him, as long as he can get the game time under Lampard, now that the transfer ban has been lifted. I'm hoping Frank Lampard's still going to bring these young players through, and I hope Mason Mount gets the game time he deserves, because I think, again, going forward, he's going to be a fantastic player for England. And I would take Phil Foden. Again, if Foden does take that David Silva role, as everybody's expecting at Man City, with David Silva leaving next year, then he could be a serious challenger for Maddison's spot in the first team. I mean, he is that good, is Phil Foden, and he's still a young lad, but he looks like he's got years and years of experience. He's so good on the ball, he's so creative, he's scoring goals. And yes, it's probably easier to do that in a Man City side that is performing so well constantly under Pep Guardiola. But I just think he's got that. He reminds me a lot of Jack Wilshere when Jack Wilshere broke through at Arsenal. I used to love watching Jack Wilshere just get the ball and take players on. He was fearless. And it's a shame the way Jack Wilshere's career has sort of dwindled down. I hope that doesn't happen to Phil Foden. But yeah, for me, Phil Foden, he's got to be in there as well. So that means leaving players of the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain, Harry Winks, Eric Dyer. They will not be making the Euros for me. As much as I like Oxlade-Chamberlain, I just think there's better options in that midfield. So that now leaves us with only 6 spots left in our team. 2 players from each remaining position. And we're going to look firstly at our strikers now. So over the years, Harry Kane has been the focal point of England's attack. Don't get me wrong, he is a top finisher. He scored goals. Do you know what I mean? You give him a chance, he's going to put it away. But my issue with Harry Kane is when he's not scoring goals, he offers very little else. I think I would still take him, because as an impact sub, he can come on, get that chance, put the ball in the back of the net. But he would be nothing more than an impact sub for me. My main man heading the attack would be Marcus Rashford. Before he picked up his injury for United, he played this role in the absence of Anthony Martial, and he was phenomenal. He has pace too, which for me, I want my front three to have that pace, which obviously Harry Kane doesn't have. He doesn't give me that speed up front. So yeah, I take Rashford and Kane as my strikers. This leads me onto my wingers now, so I'm looking at 4 wingers. My first team wingers, I believe, would be Raheem Sterling on the left, he's been nothing short of world class for Man City. And on the other side, Jadon Sancho. He's the up-and-coming English golden boy, and he's doing a fantastic job at Dortmund. I think that front three of Sterling, Rashford and Sancho are going to cause so many problems to defenders at any level. And for me as a defender, if I see Sterling, Sancho and Rashford, I would be more worried about playing that team than seeing, say, Sterling, Sancho and Harry Kane. Moving on to backup now, Mason Greenwood, who can play both as a winger or a striker, as Rashford can. But Greenwood has quickly become a favourite in Manchester, and I see no reason why he won't replicate his current form next season. I think he's a fantastic player. He's a great finisher, and he's so clever on and off the ball. So the last spot that I'm trying to fill up, it was a tough one for me. So I look at the likes of Rashford and Harry Kane, and I think to myself, I don't need any more strikers. But then I look deeper into it, and obviously Rashford could play on the wing, as he currently is doing at United. And I struggle to find any reason why I should leave Danny Ings out of my squad. He's been brilliant this year. And to be honest, as a Liverpool fan, I was disappointed when we sold him. I think, for me, he's the closest player that we had or have currently that could come in and do the same sort of job that Firmino does. And obviously, with Firmino being so important for Liverpool, with his high work rate, obviously Danny Ings had that as well. Obviously, we sold him, and he's thriving at Southampton now. He's up there with the top goal scorers in the league. He's a big part of the reason why Southampton are having such a successful season. So yeah, I'm going to take Danny Ings. I've got Rashford, who I can put out on the wing and bring Danny Ings in if I want, or obviously Harry Kane. So I've got options up there. I can rotate up there, which as a manager, that's exactly what you want to do. So we're coming to the end of the podcast now. We've selected our 23-man squad who we believe will be heading to the Euros. Just to recap, in goals we've got Pope, Henderson and Pickford. At right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Left back will be Chilwell and Shaw. Centre backs Maguire, Keane, Tarkowski and Stones. Centre mid, Rice, Henderson, Maddison, Grealish, Mount and Foden. And then up front / wingers, we got Sterling, Sancho, Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford, Harry Kane and Danny Ings. So before we finish up, I just want to leave some honourable mentions, as there are still some top players that we've not discussed who are breaking through, who could make an impact on the team and ultimately might make it to Euro 2021. So Bukayo Saka at Arsenal, he's had a great breakthrough season this year. Also of Arsenal, there's the likes of a young lad called Joe Willock, who, given more game time, could break through next year. We also discussed Brendan Williams of United. There's Callum Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham, who will probably want to get that game time and get into that squad next year. They'll be knocking at the door if he can get that. There's just so much talent to go through, which we haven't got time to do. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to quick fire out some names now. So Reece James, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, Ryan Brewster, Max Aarons, Ben Godfrey, Jamal Lewis, Harvey Barnes, Todd Cantwell, Ebenezer Eze, Grady Diangana, James Justin, Oliver Skipp. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of potential in that squad, and all these lads have the potential to be knocking on the door over the course of the next few seasons. Like I say, the future is well and truly bright for England, and a lot of those names, I mean, Ben Godfrey looks like a fantastic player, Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis, Eddie Nketiah. Do you know what I mean? I do believe we may have a new golden generation within international football, and it's exciting for England fans. So, on that note, we've got to say goodbye now. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. We're available on Apple Podcast and Spotify for download, or you can head over to YouTube and find us on there. So I've been your host, Danny Volker, and I'll see you back here at the same time next week for more of a 12-man podcast.